Hi friends, my name is Amber and welcome to a Lovely Yarn podcast. I am filming in the rolling hills of Western Pennsylvania and it is February 8th today. And it's warm enough for me to have a window cracked, which is pretty amazing. We'll talk more about life updates and those kinds of things at the end of the episode. So, same as last week, you may hear a snoring dog in the background because my dog is behind the camera, fast asleep, and I'm not going to disturb her. I don't even know if it picked up last time, but it may. I don't know how strong my microphone is on my phone. Anyway, I am back and I have a few things to discuss, a couple of finished objects, a few whips. And this probably will be a bit of a shorter episode, but my plan is to try to get 2 episodes in this month. So I wanted to get one in here while we were still at the beginning of the month. So thank you so much for joining me. I really appreciate it. Anyway, let's just jump into it and let's talk about my first finished object, which is the big one that I have had on the needles since last October. And it is my Gloam cardigan. And I absolutely love it. I love it. And I'm going to insert a video here to the side so that you can see it like the full thing, because it's hard for me to show you that when I'm sitting here. I casted this on last October when we went to Emerald Isle, North Carolina on our beach vacation. So I have that vacation stitched into these front panels because I'm pretty sure I got both of these front panels done while I was there. And this was not something that I could work on while I was around other people because it is a lot of texture and it was reading charts, which was not hard. But I think I shared with you guys when I originally started this, when I podcasted back when I had originally started this, that because I knit a lot of in the round patterns way more than I knit flat garment patterns. So I had messed up when I first started because instead of reading right to left and then left to right on the pattern, which is what you do on charts when you're knitting flat, I just kept going right to left. And then I was like, this is not looking right. And then I realized what I was doing. But anyway, so it has good memories because that was a fun vacation. And it is knit in Juniper Moon Farms Patagonia, which is an organic yarn, I think it's merino wool. And it's considered, well, I would say, it's either a sport or a DK weight. I can show you what's left. Colorway is Acorn, which I really like. I had picked this out because I started this in the fall. I mean, I like this color. I like this color any time of the year, but it was a very fall inspired color because we were heading into fall when I had ordered this yarn. I believe I purchased this from Woolens Company, which, if nothing has changed, when you order from Woolens Company, you actually get free shipping if you're in the United States. And I think that's on any order. Like, you don't have to have a minimum amount in your cart, which is fantastic. Anyway, okay, it just says it's 100% wool, so it doesn't specify that it's merino, and it's 100% organic, and it is, let's see, it's classified as it has a classification of number 3, which is a light. So I bought 3, I knit the 3rd size. Hold on. Let me just, I remember when I was trying to figure out which size to knit, I was having a hard time figuring it out, and I was reading a lot. What I normally do is when I get on Ravelry, I don't just look at the measurements that the pattern designer gives, but I also go in and I read a fair amount of notes from people who have actually knitted the garment, because I want to see, because it doesn't always work out the way that the designer says it's going to. So what size did I knit the size 2. Okay, so I knit size 2. bought 3 skeins of this yarn, which, like I said, 100 grams of it has 328 yards, and I have 59 yards left of my last skein. So I used 2 full skeins, and then I have 59 grams. I have 59 grams left of this 3rd skein. So I still have enough to make something. Maybe a pair of mittens. I don't know. I'll figure it out. I like having the... Oh, and this yarn, I really enjoyed working with this yarn. It's very... It feels a little dry, but not so dry that I don't care to work with it. You know, some yarns are super dry and they just don't feel good working with. This one feels a bit dry, but it's not, but it's a good feeling. It felt good between my fingers when I was knitting with it. So, I basically knit this to pattern. However, when I went to pick up stitches, okay, so you knit this in panels. Oh, my dog hears the neighbor's dog barking. Oh, what is that? It's okay. Do you want to see everyone? Oh, there, you might get to see her tail. Yep, there's her tail. Excuse me for 1 minute. I will be right back. Okay, I put Mitty out of the bedroom because I was afraid she was going to start barking, so she can go out and look and see what's going on across the street and take care of her curiosity. But what I was saying is I knit it all to pattern, except for when I picked up for the arms. Okay, that's right. It's knit in pieces. So you knit the 2 front panels, and then you knit the back panel, and then you seam together the shoulders, which I did a mattress stitch. This is it right here. Okay. And then you seam the sides, which, let me get up here and show you the sides. You can see the mattress stitch seaming here. And I think it's because of the way, like, you're butting together the knitting in, I don't know how, it's like different than when you're knitting here. You can't see the seam as much on the sides. Okay. So you seam all that together, and then when you have it all seamed, you go back and you pick up stitches on the underarm, and this is where I varied from the pattern. So I actually picked up enough stitches for the size 4, and I think why is because she just whenever she tells you to seam the side, I don't know that I followed exactly what she said to do, because what I did is I matched the edges up together and on the bottom, on the ribbing, and then I figured out about how big of an armhole I would want to have. And then I put a marker here, like a stitch marker here, and a couple down just to hold it together, and then I seamed it up. So if I would have cast on or picked up the number of stitches that she had written for the size 2, this would have been scrunched in and tight, because I had way more stitches available to be picked up, because I don't think I like seamed it as far up as she had specified in her pattern. So does that make sense? So I knit a size 2, but I picked up the number of stitches that you would have picked up for a size 4. And then you just finish the stitches with the ribbing, and then you go back and you pick up stitches along the whole front of the garment and neck, and then you do your ribbing, which went actually, I mean, the sleeves and the front ribbing went super fast. I got stuck, as I've shared before. I kind of got stuck because of the seaming, and then once I got the seaming done, I knew if I got the seaming done, then I would probably just speed through the rest, and that is exactly what happened. So it is finished. It is lovely. It's great for me in this season of my life because it's a layer of warmth, but it's not super heavy. It's like really nice and light. So it's what, 242 grams of yarn. And it is more of a, I would say, like, it's a loosely spun yarn. So that also contributes to that. And then it's just like, it's not the whole way down my arms. The sleeves are loose, so they leave some airflow. And I really like it. And so far, I've had this on today, and so far I'm not noticing like it falling off my shoulders. Okay, because sometimes cardigans can do that. Especially I've noticed cardigans that you do not seam together. Seamed cardigans seem to stay up better on me, and this one was seamed, but then I was worried, well, is it with the drop shoulder? Is it going to pull it down? But no, so far it's good. And this is kind of like a silky shirt, so even with that, it's not really sliding down. So I really like this. And did I say it's the Gloam by Caitlin Hunter, Boyland Knitworks? I think I did, but I don't know for sure that I did. So I love the texture. I think it's beautiful. It's a simple piece that I know I will wear a lot because it's going to be really practical for me. And we're going to move on from that. If you have any questions or if I left anything out, just leave them down in the comments and I'll try to answer them. And we're going to move on to my next finished object, which is a pair of socks. These are called the unicorn socks because I am pretty certain that's the name of this yarn, something like Unicorn Party. This is a Drops Fable Prince yarn, and I knit these for a friend. So this is going to be something that I'm gifting to someone, and I finished them up, I believe, last week. So I just did a 60 stitch cast on. And I cast it on using size 0 needles, US 0. And these will fit like a size 8 foot. So I don't have a lot to say about these, but I really like the yarn. And as I said in my last episode, the last skein of Drops Fable that I worked with was very splitty, and I did not notice that with this colorway. So that was good because I was a little like, I didn't enjoy the first pair I knit out of Drops Fable. It was just very splitty, so I couldn't, usually when I knit socks, I can literally I don't even look at them. I just knit. If I'm doing a vanilla sock, I just knit. And so they're really good for when I knit at church or when I'm with people and I want to pay attention to what people are saying, and I don't want them to think I'm not paying attention because I'm looking at my knitting. But that first skein, that first colorway of Drops Fable, I could not do that because I was sticking my needle constantly through the different strands of the yarn. But this was not like that, so that was good. I was happy about that. So yes, these are going to be gifted, and I'm not blocking them. I think I'm too practical to block socks unless they're like lace socks. I just don't have the time for it. You know, I'm like, no, people are gonna put them on their feet and it doesn't matter to me. Like, I'm not that much of a perfectionist with my knitting. So that is my second finished object. And moving on, I have another pair of socks to share with you, and I'm absolutely adoring this yarn and this colorway. It is speaking to my soul. So here's the deal. I decided I wanted an Instant Pot, and yes, this has something to do with these socks. Bear with me. So I decided I wanted an Instant Pot because I want to be able to streamline my bone broth making process. Normally I do it in my crock pot, and it's in there for days because I like to really draw all the nutrients out of the bones. So a friend of mine has an Instant Pot, and then I was watching stuff online, and then I was hearing, oh, you can make a whole roast in an hour in your Instant Pot. And I'm like, wow. I'm typically not a person that like succumbs to the desire to have kitchen gadgets. I'm very minimal in what I have in my kitchen, and I use tools that I have tools that I can use in multiple ways. So I resisted the Instant Pot craze for a long time. However, when I realized that it can actually be a very helpful tool in my kitchen, I thought, okay, I want one. So I thought I had some Christmas money, so I thought I'm gonna buy myself one. And I was looking around, and they were ranging anywhere from $110 to $150. I mean, there were some that were more expensive to that, but those were the ones that I was looking at. And then I just got this idea, like, I wonder how many people have Instant Pots just sitting in their pantries because it was like a fad and they bought it or somebody bought it for them, and then they maybe used it a few times and then they just thought, no, I don't really care for this. And so I put a call out on Facebook, like my personal Facebook page, not Marketplace or anything like that. And I just said, hey, is there anyone out there who has an Instant Pot that they would that they're not using anymore, and they would be able to sell to me for a good price or make a trade for a loaf of sourdough and a pair of hand knit socks. And so that is what I'm doing. I am knitting these socks for someone who had an Instant Pot that she was not using anymore. And I thought I feel like I love when I can barter or trade for things because it just feels more responsible. And I have a skill that I can make something for someone that somebody else would really like. I have people ask me all the time if they could buy socks off of me, and I just don't feel comfortable doing that because for me to make it worth my time, I would have to charge a lot for the socks, and I'm not sure people would be willing to pay for it. You guys know how that is, right? But I gift a lot of socks because in my mind, that's different. I'm typically gifting to people who God has put on my mind or who are special to me. Maybe it's somebody who's going through a hard time and I'll make them prayer socks, which is similar to prayer shawls, but you're praying for them as you make them socks instead of shawls. And I really love to gift socks, but I've never sold a pair of socks because I just don't feel comfortable doing that, and I don't want to do that. However, I thought this would be a good way to get an Instant Pot and not have to actually pay money, but trade my skills. So I've already delivered the sourdough bread last week and picked up the Instant Pot, and now I'm working on these beautiful pair of socks, and they're just vanilla socks, but it's really the yarn that is just so... Oh, it's just so lovely. Let me get them a little straightened out. They're kind of wrinkly from having them in the bag, in my project bag. They match my project bag. Who is this bag from? Somebody sent me this bag and it doesn't have a tag on it. So I don't know who it was. Oh, that drives me crazy when I can't remember. Okay, so here are the socks. I am loving these colors so much. I am speeding through these socks. First of all, because I want to get them to this particular woman because I don't like to owe people things. So that is definitely lighting a fire under me to get them done. But also just the fact that these colors are so beautiful. It's like gray, blue, peachy, light peachy color, light pink. The blues, the creams, some gray. These are stripes of gray. It's like a bluish gray. But is that not just so beautiful? And the woman that I'm making them for, she wanted like a more neutral sock. And I feel like this is a good sock for being neutral colors. So I hope she likes them. I just started the toe decreases on the first sock. And then I will be knitting the second sock. And let me show you, in case any of you would like to go buy some of this yarn. It is opal. Because it is a German yarn and the label is completely in German, I cannot give you details of it, but let me show you. And I will I will put the details in my project notes down below this video. They're so beautiful. And I even thought about getting another skein of it to make a pair for myself. I have a feeling I'm going to have enough of this left to make a pair of shorties for myself. So I probably will just end up doing that so that I'm not buying more yarn. I did end up buying this yarn because I looked in my stash and I didn't have anything that was like real neutral other than some very manly looking sock yarn. And I don't know this woman well, but I know her. I feel like I know her enough to know that that wouldn't have been like what she wanted. She's a very artistic person. She's a photographer. So I got onto Etsy and I went onto this particular shop. It's like, I've talked about it on here before. I will link it down below as well because I can't remember the exact name of her shop. It's like Pegasus 452 or something like that. But she's based out of, I believe, Wisconsin, and she carries a lot of like the Regia, Opal yarn, Activia, like those kind of commercial, hard wearing, good sock yarns. And for the United States, at least, she provides free shipping, and she's always really quick at getting the yarn out. I'm assuming it. Maybe it's not a she. I don't know. I just always whoever owns this online shop is very thorough in getting things out the door and into my mailbox very quickly. So yeah, I'll link that shop down below, because I know you guys, I know that some of you are probably going to want this yarn because it's so beautiful, and it is giving some spring vibes, isn't it? And I am definitely enjoying the spring vibes, as you're going to see in my next project too. Okay. Oh, and for this sock, I cast on 64 stitches on a size 1, and I am making her foot size is a bit bigger than mine, and so I am making these socks according to those specifications. My next project is the Vertices Unite shawl by Stephen West. I was talking about this last episode. I showed you guys, and I brought the first Vertices Unite shawl that I ever knit. I brought that back, and I told you guys last week, and I'm going to repeat it just for those of you who maybe didn't watch my last episode. I knit this several years ago, and my daughter, Lily, it's hers now because she loves it, and I gladly gave it to her because I love giving knitted things to my family members and my friends who I know appreciate it. And I knit the larger size. By the way, there's 2 sizes, which I don't think I mentioned that because I actually forgot that there were 2 sizes in that pattern until I went and looked at the pattern again yesterday, because that's when I cast it on the new version, the 2.0 I'm doing for myself now. So this one was a very scrappy one. As I said, I think this was maybe almost a full skein of yarn, this minty color. And oh yes, this one was a full skein of yarn because that was the little lion heads yarn, and then everything else was scrappy. So this is a modular shawl. It's broken up into 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 sections. Okay, and each section is knit like you knit each section at a time. And I know that he just updated the pattern. And I think that update included like a pattern for making a swatch to kind of choose your colors. And I don't care to do that because I've already knit this one time, and that's just too much work for me. I just want to get into the knitting. I'll play with the colors as I go. You know, I'm not a huge planner when it comes to knitting with multiple colors. I plan a little bit, but I mostly just go on the whim of, okay, I've got this done. What is going to look good with this next color? And I have a big enough stash that I can do that because I have my full skeins. These are all my full skeins of fingering weight yarn, but I also have a lot of my little scrappy skeins too, or scrappy, like my little fingering weight scrap. So this is knit with fingering weight yarn, and I think you're supposed to have 5 different colors, but I'm not even necessarily going to go with that. Because you knit in sections, I feel like this is highly adaptable to whatever colors you want to do, you know? Okay, so I have this yarn that I talked about last time. It's from Cozy Colorworks, and it came with 100 or 550 yards, so it was a big skein, and this was gifted to me. I used this with some silk mohair to make a headband for my daughter, which I showed in my last episode, and I had a ton left over because the headband was small and I hardly used any. So I'm actually making this first section, which is this big section here. This one here. I am making it with 2 different colors held together. So I have this one, which is called Jersey Peach. Now this yarn company is still dyeing yarn, but I don't think this colorway was on her website. I looked. And then I'm holding it with this beautiful springy green color, which was a one-of-a-kind from Flower Hill Fleeces, my friend Jody. So this is what I'm getting. I hardly have any done because I just started this yesterday, and then I didn't have much time yesterday. I wasn't home most of the day. Wait, wrong side. Let's show you this. There you go. Now you can see the stripes a bit better. So I know that right now it might seem like, is that going to look nice? Because it is very like stark contrast in the striping. But I remember feeling the same way when I was knitting the first one with this striping the red. I was like, oh my gosh, it's a candy cane. I remember because I did 2 sections and I kept thinking, oh, it looks like a candy cane. I don't think I'm gonna like this. But when it was all said and done, it just goes so great. And when you have it wrapped, it looks fantastic. So I'm going with it. I had originally thought I was going to hold these 2 colors double, which this was sent to me as well from a sweet viewer. This is a very beautiful like corally peachy color. But I started knitting with these 2 colors, and I actually was like, there's not enough contrast. So I'm going to use this to make one of the panels, like one of the solid panels. I haven't decided which one yet, but this is what I'm going for my first section, which will be the largest section of the shawl. And it is just speaking spring to me because of that green, and I am ready for spring. I love spring. It is my favorite season because everything starts growing, the trees start budding, the birds come back. I mean, the birds that don't stay for the winter. And it is just, I just come alive. I literally feel like I'm coming back to life in the spring. It's an amazing feeling. So I am going to knit springy inspired things until spring arrives, which is probably how long this shawl is going to take me, because I'm making the largest size again, because I thought about making the smaller size, but if I'm going to wear a shawl, I want to have a big shawl. Like, I don't want the awkward in between size where it doesn't really stay wrapped. Do you know what I mean? I either want it small enough that I can just knot it and tie it like with the Sophie scarf, or I want like a decent sized scarf that I can, or shawl that I can just wrap double around my neck. So yes, that is what I'm doing with this. I may add in that blue color at some point. Excuse the crinkle. I also have these colors that I think would go very nicely that I could use. I'm sorry guys, this is so crinkly, but I can't avoid that. Color Riot. Again, a gift sent to me by one of my sweet viewers. So I have lots of options. Feeling very inspired by this. Yeah, so that's what's happening with my Vertices Unite 2.0. Okay, moving on. I have just 2 more things to talk about as far as knitting goes, and that is, I want to just show you guys real quick. Oh no, I have another whip to show you. I'm asking you guys for accountability with this thing. Let me get this stuff like moved out of the way so I can pull out this sweater. I've showed this sweater before, and I have made like no progress on it since I last showed it. And it is my Maryanna sweater by Folk City Fiber Studio. It's this one, guys, with that gorgeous, gorgeous colorwork yoke, which I did modify. If you want the details of that, I will, down below, I will link the video where I talked about this in more detail. Here is my issue with this. I have the body completely done. Look, I'm not that far. I'm not that far away from completing it. I literally just need to do the sleeves. However, when I cast it on this, when I picked up stitches for this sleeve over here, I decided I don't like it. I just didn't like it. I don't know. I think what it is, really, I think what it is that the yoke, the colorwork portion of the yoke has just a lot of depth. It has texture because I used Barret Wool Co Woolen in the old-fashioned colorway, And I held it double with some silk mohair that I cannot remember where I got, but it was like an orangey color. I think it was Cosy Posy Yarn Co, actually, now that I think about it. And so it has this beautiful texture. And then we get to this blah flat gray. And I remember thinking, after I got through the yoke and I got down to that gray, I remember thinking, these were not the right combinations, because this gray yarn is Cloudborn Highland worsted in the gray heather color, which I'm pretty sure that that's a discontinued yarn. But this yarn is just too flat. Even though it's heathered, I find it way too flat, at least for what I did up here. And it's just really round. It's really round. And it's almost too structured, or it's just too round, okay? Is this making sense to you guys? Help me. I need your input on this. I cannot rip this out. I don't want to rip it out. I have all of that done. I have the body done. So maybe what I need to do, I think part of the problem was when I cast it on this, or when I picked up for these sleeves, because I'm knitting in a smaller circumference, I think my stitches are tighter. So you can see clearly that there's something that happens here. So even though the needle size on the arm, on the sleeve, is the same as the needle size I used for the body, I think it's because I'm knitting in a smaller circumference that it's making it tighter. So I think I need to rip out this arm and go up a needle size. And then I also think that I need to not decrease, because I'm doing decreases as written in the pattern, and the arm is starting to look really tight, and I don't want a tight arm. So maybe I just answered my question, but I am up to hearing if you guys have any suggestions or encouragement or like support. Like, it doesn't look that bad, Amber, keep going. I mean, it doesn't look that bad. Maybe it's also that this is a really warm color and this is a very cool color. I don't know. I love that. I love the pattern though, the color work. Like the flowers, they're just gorgeous. I'm not ripping it out. I'm not ripping it out. I've already decided that. That's too much. I mean, I'd have to rip it out completely because this gray is all through the yoke too. So I'm not ripping this sweater out. So I think I'm just going to rip out this arm, pick up stitches with a bigger needle, and not do any decreases. Just finish it, block it, see how it looks, feels. Worst case scenario, if I don't like it, I will find somebody that I know will take care of it and they can have it if they like it. I don't know. I'll figure something out. Or I'll just keep it for myself. Because I love this yoke. It's so beautiful. This is like a perfect amber yoke. This flower detail. Okay. So that's that. So chime in if you have any input. Chime in down below in the comments. Send me some encouragement to keep going and to persevere on that one. Okay, next two things. I just want to show you. I'm getting ready to cast on for the Jimmy Beans Wool February squares. And well, I still need to wind up the yarn. Where did I put the yarn? There it is for February. This is, I'm doing the knitted version, and this is for the blanket club for Jimmy Beans Wool. I've been talking about this since December because Jimmy Beans Wool is actually, they sent me the yarn to make this for free and to kind of share about the process here on my YouTube channel. So the color for February, if you haven't received yours yet and you don't want to know, maybe you shouldn't watch this segment. Don't watch this part. But it is called Sandstorm. And let me just take off the thing so you can. So it's like, it's got some beigey, grays, some pink, my hair, a little bit of brown. It's really pretty. So that is for the February squares, which I haven't even looked at the pattern yet. So I don't even know, like in January, I knit 4 squares. I knit 2 larger ones and 2 smaller ones. Oh, and I had some people ask me about if I got gauge. I didn't do gauge. I just figured if this is a blanket, I don't care about gauge. That's how I am with almost everything except for sweaters. Garments, I will definitely do a gauge swatch. The blanket, I'm not. I had one square that turned out a little bit smaller than the other, and so when I blocked them, I just really pulled the smaller square so that it was the same size as the bigger one. So as I make the bigger squares each month, I'll just make sure they're all looking the same size as each other, and we're just gonna, it's a blanket, so I'm not worried about it. Okay, so that's what's going on with that. And then I just want to show you guys, because I talked about this last week. So I talked about the Sonder sweater that I wanted to cast on by the Petite Knitter, and I loved Stephanie's version. Stephanie has the podcast, and she's on Instagram as Edible Thoughts Makes. She used Pearl Soho, Good Wool in Barn Door and Pink Salt colorways. And so after I watched her episode, I went and I bought, and that episode was last year sometime, I'm pretty sure, but I went and bought that yarn. So here we go. Isn't that beautiful? That's going to be a fun sweater. Definitely going to be a fun sweater. It is a colorwork sweater. Well, I mentioned that I did not even purchase the pattern yet, and I got a message in Ravelry from Amy of Noble Character Crafts. She has a YouTube channel as well. She used to be a yarn dyer, but I don't think she does that. I'm pretty sure she doesn't do that anymore. That she had gifted me the pattern. You guys are so sweet. So I have the pattern now, and I have the yarn. I just need, and I already have, yesterday I sat down and I put all of my stuff in my project bag. I got the needle that the pattern calls for that I'm going to go ahead and do my swatch with. And as long as I get gauge, I will be casting on. And I have it all in my bag, which this bag, by the way, is by Delightful Works. She watches my podcast. She has sponsored a giveaway on here. And I'll link her Etsy shop down below, because she makes this is like a really nice, one of my favorite project bags. It's got this handle on the side and the zipper top, and it's like the sturdy, I love this one because it's like the sturdy canvas. But I have everything in here ready to go. Just got to start my gauge swatch, and then I will be casting this on. And I'm really excited about it because I'm so excited to work with those bright colors. I told you guys last week, and I've said it before, I wear more neutrals than brights, but however, this time of year, I just really crave color, and I just want to do all kinds of wild colors because I'm not getting it enough in my environment with like outside in nature, and I feel like I flow a lot with what nature's doing, and I love in like spring and summer, the greens and all the flower colors and the blue sky, and then in the fall you've got all the fallish colors and all the colors of the changing leaves. And then in the winter, where I live at least, we have mostly deciduous trees. I mean, we have evergreen trees, but compared to, let's say, Maine, where you go, at least the parts of Maine that I've been in, they're very much there's tons of evergreen trees everywhere. And so it just feels really green there all the time. I could be totally wrong. It could just be the sections that I've traveled through of Maine. But here we have mostly deciduous trees with areas that have like the pine trees, the hemlocks, those kind of things. But it's more brown here. So I just crave color. And so I knit with more color this time of year. Yes. So let me tell you though, even though it's been brown and usually it's not very sunny, we have had, like, I think it's been for us almost a solid week. Almost. We've had sunshine. It's partly sunny today. Yesterday, we've had some days that it was completely sunny. Beautiful blue sky. It's just been so wonderful. I just love it so much. And Today it's supposed to get into the mid 50s. I think tomorrow it's supposed to get near 60s. My mockingbirds came back. Okay, have you guys heard of Groundhog Day? If you're in America, you probably have heard of Groundhog Day. Well, that all takes place in Punxsutawney, Pennsylvania, which is like 45 minutes from where I live. It's this big deal. I have never gotten into it or thought anything of it. I mean, it's nothing that, like, I'm like, eh. Like, I remember when I was in high school, people would skip school to go to Groundhog Day. But the groundhog did not see his shadow this year, which means that we have an early spring coming. Of course, the groundhog has no scientific knowledge. It's complete fun, okay? It's complete fun. It's just a fun thing that the town does. But let me tell you what does give it. Hold on, somebody's ringing my doorbell. Okay, I'm back. Someone was at the door and I ignored the first ring, but then it rang again and it was my nephew. So I needed to go take care of that. But anyway, so as I was saying, usually Phil, that's the groundhog's name, he usually sees his shadow every year, which means we're going to have 6 more weeks of winter. As I said, this year he did not see his shadow, which means we're going to have an early spring. As I said, it's just a fun thing. I mean, I don't, if somebody actually puts any weight in what if Phil does or does not see his shadow, that's just, I don't know, that's silliness. However, my mockingbirds are back. My mockingbirds do not typically return to their tree here until, I was trying to think, when do they come back? End of March, beginning of April. That's when I usually start hearing them out chirping. And if you've never heard a mockingbird, you have to look it up. They are the most hilarious because they replicate noises and bird song that the birds around them make. A funny story, several years back I was outside and I was getting my garden beds, like I was starting to work with them to get them ready for planting, and it was probably early April when this happened. But I'm in there in my garden and I hear a seagull. And I'm like, what the heck? A seagull? And I look up in the birch tree and there's a mockingbird. And it was the first time I'd heard the mockingbird that spring. So, and they may have been back for a little while, but I just hadn't been outside to hear them at the time when they were chirping. But when they travel south, they just pick up the songs of the birds that they come into contact with, and then they literally just run through all this, like, just all the different sounds. They just go from one to another, and they are so interesting to listen to. And we have mockingbirds that live in a tree in our landscaping, so I can sit on my front porch in the morning and I can just, well, any time of the day. They are more active in singing, like during the mating season, so like springtime, and then I think again in the fall they get a little bit more vocal, but they are just so funny to listen to. So interesting. It amazes me. They amaze me. They're like such a cool creature of God's, and it's just like so fun to listen to the mockingbirds. But I was looking out my window over the weekend and I looked down at our bush that's right off our front porch and I'm like, is that a mockingbird? And they're really easy to tell. They're really easy to identify because they have this really long tail that kind of squares off, and then they have these white bands of color across their wings and across their tail. And I'm like, I think the mockingbird is back. And one of our outdoor cats she likes to get birds, and she did get a mockingbird last year. So I'm hoping that she didn't, I don't know. I don't know how many we'll have. I don't know how many we had last summer because I don't know. But anyway, the mockingbirds are back. So that is a great sign that spring is soon coming. I put way more weight in that than Punxsutawney Phil. So, Also, real quick before I wrap this up, I just wanted to thank everyone for your very kind, heartfelt comments on my last video regarding some of the health things that I'm dealing with right now. I felt so loved and cared for, and I so appreciate all of your prayers. It just made me, I mean, some of your comments literally brought tears to my eyes. I'm just so thankful for that, for you guys, and for your encouragement. I'm still waiting. I am done with the 30-day monitor. I actually had to finish it up 5 days sooner than it was planned because I just had a majorly bad skin reaction to the electrodes. So I had that monitor. I sent it in earlier this week, a couple days ago, and the doctor said it would take a good week to get the results back, and then once they see what type of like arrhythmias I'm having, then they will know how to proceed. I do know, I have found out that I do have a structural defect of my mitral valve, which I knew I had mitral valve prolapse, but I have something that basically like my part of my mitral valve is disjointed from my heart wall for about like 8 millimeters. So it's kind of, it's not detached, but it's not attached. I don't even know how to explain it. So yeah, that was the new diagnosis that I had received, and that can cause dangerous arrhythmias in some people. So that's why they're checking. He had me do the monitor because I already do get PVCs, which are just premature ventricular contractions. And he wanted to see how many I was having. And I guess by looking at where those premature contractions originate from, like what part of the ventricle, I guess that gives an indication on how much at risk you are for like dangerous arrhythmias. I'm honestly just, it's been a struggle for me because I have a really good imagination when it comes to worst case scenario thinking, and I attribute a lot of that, if not the whole part of that, to being a registered nurse. So, but there's nothing I can do about that. I cannot go back. At this point, I can't undo everything that I learned and saw as a nurse. So I have to trust God in it, and I have to trust it. I was thinking about like Psalm 139, where he formed, you know, it says he formed us together in our mother's womb when we were made in the secret place. And all of our days were ordained for us before one of them even came to be. And so I personally find a lot of comfort in that, because this is not a surprise for God. He knew this was going to happen. He knew about this, and it's very probable I've had this since birth. They don't know for sure because it's this new diagnosis is something that's just been discovered within the last 30 years. So there's not a lot of information on it yet. But God is not, like, none of it is a mystery to him. So I'm so glad for my faith. I really am. I have thought, every time I've gone through something hard in my life, something challenging, I have thought, what in the world would I do without my faith? You know what I mean? Like, it's just, yeah. So, and I just really appreciate those of you who reached out and said you were praying for me. And those of you who do not have the same beliefs as me, you reached out and you said that you were thinking about me and you offered me encouragement. And so I truly appreciate that. It was so much appreciated. And I did not respond to most comments because I just was feeling a bit overwhelmed, and I don't know that I will respond, but I want you to know that they were read, and very much I could tell, like, I just appreciated you guys. So thank you so much. That wraps up this week's episode, and as I said, I'm going to try to get another one in probably the last week of February, because I do want to share my February squares with you, and I'm hoping that I've had some work done on the Sonder, and can I get that Maryanna sweater done by the end of February? Yes, I can, because I literally only have 2 sleeves to do. So, guys, I got to do it, right? Just get it done. Get it done, get it off the needles, because it's been bothering me that it's been in that bag since sometime last year. So those are my plans. Thank you so much for watching, and for coming back, and for all of your love and support. I appreciate it very much. So I will talk to you guys next time. Bye.